So where is the line between stopping people being abusive, racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever else, which no one wants? I don't think anyone would encourage that kind of discourse. But where is the line between stopping that and but also stopping free speech? Because I think that's the root of what is being worried about here, isn't it?
Yes, we already have laws against extremely hostile and abusive and threatening behavior. So if someone threatens someone with violence, for example, that's illegal and rightly so. If someone tries to whip up a crowd and issue death threats, that's illegal and rightly so. But everything else really is free speech. And as soon as you start to regulate this, then you start censoring free speech more. And that's where it would be wrong.
I guess as well, it's also about where the line is in the kinds of debates you're allowed to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for instance, if you're going to have a debate about the way in which someone was born, an innate trait within them, and about whether that is right or wrong, I can see why people see that as prejudice. If you were to say, I'm going to debate someone's skin colour being right or wrong, I'm going to debate someone's sexuality being right or wrong, there is no debate. You can't actually debate those things, because if you are, I can see why people see that as prejudice. Where I think there is a grey area, and I don't know whether you agree, is when one person's rights are in conflict with another person's. And you do quite often see that when it comes to things like sexuality and religion, when you see things like the debate around transgender rights and women's rights. In those examples, you have two minorities, both of whom have been repressed in one way or another at times, but are conflicting. Would that be a reasonable assertion to make, and perhaps one of the reasons why things are becoming so toxic?
Sorry, I thought I'd lost you completely, and it was a call coming through on my phone from somebody else. So
oh, well, just busy them. But did you get the gist of my question there?
Yes, I very much did. But I think we all need to learn to rub along with each other. I mean, the abuse that's been hurled at J.K. Rowling, for example, has been utterly despicable. And I don't believe that she's actually uttered a single transgender word. This idea of eliminating women from women and children's hospitals, not talking about breastfeeding, but talking about chest feeding. This is all getting a little bit ridiculous. And I think there are some people who are deliberately out there to stir up trouble. And I think there are some trans rights activists who want to do that. But in general, I do firmly believe that we should just get everything out in the open and have an open and free debate. I mean, I'm sure you remember when Nick Griffin went on Question Time back, 12, 13 years ago, the leader of the British National Party. I mean, people said the BBC shouldn't have them on. It was wrong to give him a platform, but he made an utter fool of himself, and people saw him for what he was. So rather than trying to stop debates, let's have more free debates. Let's have more disinfectant of light, and that works.
Oh, yeah, I think there needs to be a responsibility with that, though, because I think where you get the toxicity, and I think that you've alluded to it, is the extreme fringes of both debates. Because there are some extreme feminists that make the transgender debate absolutely unbearable. There are some extreme transgender rights activists that make the debate unbearable. And I think there are people in the middle ground on all these debates, many of whom actually seem to have the quietest voices, that actually could get somewhere to solving this problem, rubbing along, as you said. But sadly, and this probably ties into Twitter, that it's those fringes that seem to be heard the most.
Yeah, well, it always seems to be, doesn't it? And Twitter can be one of the most toxic places in the world.
Is Michael Buerk right then that that's one of the reasons why not only the toxicity of the debate, but also people's absolute desire, my God, they're desperate to be offended and microanalyze every single word via these sites? Is that part of the problem here?
Well, the BBC, as far as the moral maze is concerned, should continue to have those hard, difficult discussions, because that is a genuine public service. But of course, it's what happens on this radio station and other channels as well. Just because there are some extremes who are trying to poison the debate doesn't mean that we shouldn't have debates about difficult issues. The more debates that we have, the better we are. Free speech is the key to all of this. It's not the problem. We shouldn't start restricting people's free speech. We should have more of it. And quite frankly, those people who are nasty and horrible about people, who are transphobic, who are racist, well, just expose them and expose their views and their ideas for what they are. So I always say that free speech is the answer to this. More of it.
Yeah, but I think that I've worked on both sides. I've worked in television, in radio. I've worked on both sides of the mic and the camera, so to speak. And I have to say that there is a fear, I think, about a lot of program makers. I mean, I'm frankly amazed that the moral maze has lasted 30 years, because there is a real fear among program makers of not wanting to offend, not wanting to be controversial, not wanting to get in trouble. And a lot of the times as well, the things that do offend actually start off very small and with great intentions, but they seem to absolutely snowball.
Well, yes, but I mean, people should not be afraid of speaking their mind. And usually, the people who are attacking them, particularly on platforms like Twitter, are just a very small minority. It's a tiny voice, but they pile on. And it's not just, of course, broadcasters who tend to give in to this, but it's also companies as well who feel that they've got to protect their image. Margaret Thatcher once said that when she left politics, she was going to start up a company called Rent a Spine. And I think some of these broadcasters and some of these companies need to remember that, and they need to get a spine and realize that some of the people who are really creating trouble, some of the people who are nasty, do not represent the majority of people in this country.
Do you know, I think if I started a television channel now, or a radio station, I don't think I'd go on Twitter. I don't think I'd want to know. I don't think I'd want my output to be to in any way be influenced by what's going on there, because it isn't real. It isn't real life. It used to be a great place for debate, but I really just find it somewhere that is just not. I read this great thing the other day that if you ask someone their favourite colour in real life, they'll say blue. Ask someone on Twitter, what's your favourite colour? Oh, blue. Oh, what? So you don't like yellow and orange then? Well, I do like yellow and orange actually. Oh, right. Well, what about green? And it ends up being it's just
a massive argument. Yeah.
A massive argument.
It really is a cesspit at times, isn't it?
It really is.
Also, of course, the later at night you're on Twitter with many people, the more bizarre it gets, as people have damned a few and get drunk and then start hurling even more abuse at each other. But I think I'm right. If I wasn't doing my job, I wouldn't be on Twitter. I'm only on Twitter because it's very useful for me to promote stories, promote interviews, and different things like that. But if I was just an ordinary punter in the street not doing this job, I would not be on Twitter.
Well, see, sadly, I'm a bit of a Margaret Thatcher as well, and I love a good argument. And so, yeah, long may it rain, and long may I continue, as long as it's respectful and you're careful with your language. I think it's fine. Listen, good to talk to you. Andrew Allison from the Freedom Association.